Cashflow Diary Podcast, Episode 18.
Congratulations, you showed up. Give yourself a high five in celebration of your success. Welcome to the Cashflow Diary, where new and experienced investors come to take confident action towards their goals. Your host is a family man, a real estate entrepreneur, investor, coach, and instructor. As a master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's Cashflow 101 game, he's inspired many to begin their journey into creating cash flow for themselves and their family. And now, here he is to offer you the tools required to earn the income desired. Your cash flow coach, Jay Massey.
Well, hello there. Congratulations for making it yet to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. Glad that you are indeed here. For those of you joining us for the first time, make sure you go over to the initial episode, pilot episode number 1, to understand the format and background of the show. And if you didn't know already, let me remind you, we have a free wholesaling course. Wholesaling is simply a way to acquire real estate, buy it, and sell it using none of your own money or credit. I'm going to show you how. Go over to learninvestingnow.com. Place your email in the box. You're going to get the ebook and manual immediately, and then we're going to send you links to the webinars over time. You're going to get the links to the webinars where I literally spend about 3 hours of training with you for free for you to learn how to become a bigger, better, badder wholesaler. So make sure that you go over to learninvestingnow.com, place your email in the box, and get started today. Lastly, and I've got a request for you. I'm hoping that something that you've heard, you've enjoyed. I don't know, and that's what I'm looking to find out. Here's how I'd like you to respond if you could. Go over to iTunes, leave a positive comment about the show. It would help us reach more people that are like you, who are looking for the information that we are indeed providing. And if you like it, it would help us continue to reach those people who are also looking to build a big stream of cash just like yourself. Okay, so on today's episode, what we're going to talk about first and foremost is how to find leads with little or no money. For those of you that have listened to the first episode, you understand that I started real estate investing with, well, no money. Also, no place to stay. We were technically squatting a bank-owned property, homeless, and I started out as a wholesaler. One of the things that you must do regardless of your investing strategy is find leads. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to show you 4 particular techniques that I appreciate, still use them today, and they require very, very little money relative to the amount of results that they're capable of generating. Before we get there, though, however, what we're going to do is we're going to have our cash flow quote, and it comes to us from a very familiar source for many of us. It says, "If you share a good idea long enough, it will eventually fall on good people." That comes to us from Mr. Jim Rohn, Emmanuel James Jim Rohn, born September 17th, 1930, died December 5th, 2009, an American entrepreneur, author, and motivational speaker. Many of you are already familiar with him. If you're not, get familiar with him. Definitely go look up one of his audio series. I believe it was called Cultivating an Unshakable Character. It was definitely something that made a difference for myself, and I know it'll make a difference for you. Anyway, one of the things that we do get from time to time is that many of you, you find us on Facebook, you send in a question or an email, and I got one. So I want to go ahead and, before we get into our main topic today, I'd like to answer it. So here it is. It says, "Jay, I have a question. I made 3 offers on a property, and the rep that I'm talking to asked what a master lease was, which was one of my offers. Can you explain it to me better so I can explain it to him? Also, is a triple net lease the same thing?" I was listening to Creative Acquisitions, which is how I created my offer. Now, first and foremost, I want to say, listeners, thank you for sending information in because you had a question, and we'll do our best to answer it. If you find yourself that you've got a question, make sure you email it in to questions@cashflowdiary.com, or you can go over to the website, cashflowdiary.com, click on the send voicemail link, and then just speak your question, and we'll get the message and be able to go ahead and get it answered for you. So back to your question. First of all, congratulations because you made offers on a property. I love that. I always love people out there taking action, no matter what type of action it is. So, and I also find this all interesting, and I hope you did too. For those of you listening, he wrote the offer, and the person he wrote the offer to, I'm assuming, is a real estate agent, and one of the things he wrote was an offer for a master lease. A master lease is, in my opinion, a very simple strategy that you can use to control a building without taking ownership. So that's the key thing here, is that you're going to use a contract that has the ability to control the use of a building without actually owning the building. So say you have a 5, 10, 15 unit 15 unit apartment building, and or it could work very well in a commercial space as well. You could lease all of the spaces from the owner at a discounted rate, of course, and what the owner receives is at least a guaranteed amount of rent. He or she knows that, this much rent's going to come in. Your job then is to turn around and sublease each of those spaces differently in a way to actually earn your profit. That's what a master lease is really, really good at. Now, when it comes to a triple net lease, that's going to be a slightly different, because in a triple net lease, what you are actually the landlord. And what you are doing is you are giving a lease to the tenant. However, the tenant is going to be responsible for many of the things that a traditional landlord would be responsible for inside of a normal lease. So when it comes to certain things like maintenance and taxes and insurance, all these things are going to be the responsibility of the tenant as opposed to the landlord inside of a triple net lease. So in a very interesting way, they're kind of the same thing, but not really. So in both cases, the leasee is the one that has the ability to control the building, or control the use of the building. But the difference is who owns the building in this case. Most of the time, what it comes down to is that if you're looking to purchase, you're probably wanting to use a master lease. Whereas if you're looking to sell your building, you probably want to use a triple net lease. So hopefully that helps. And again, about every 10 episodes or so, we just have you know, a episode that is nothing but your questions. So feel free to go over to the website, cashflowdiary.com, click on the send voicemail link and just speak your question. We will definitely get to it, or email us at questions@cashflowdiary.com. All right. So today we're going to talk about the lead generating process that many of us can use, or maybe the other word, prospecting. Either way it goes, we're going to talk about it. I've got 4 specific things that I'm hopefully going to be able to get through in the time that we've got today to be able to give you something that you can use immediately to go out there and take action. All right. So the first and foremost one is, again, based upon being in person. Because remember, when you're first starting out, you may not necessarily have a budget for, high dollar marketing and flyers and 800 numbers and all this type of stuff. So what that meant, especially for me, is that I had to find a way to do these things, still generate these leads, and be able to create a system that I could follow simply, easily, and almost in my sleep, no matter what it is that I was doing. And when I say no matter what it is that I was doing, it's in the course of, whatever your daily activity was. If you could learn to generate leads as you go through your day, you will experience more success faster than you actually think. And that's one of the techniques that I just had to get used to, and more or less the ways of thinking that I just had to get used to, is that everywhere I went, I had to figure out a way to generate leads. So here we go. Here's one of those ways when you're meeting a person in person. So sometimes you can go to these events, and they're called networking events, right? Where you're a bunch of people who are seeking business or seeking to, serve other people with their products or services, meet. And they meet for the specific purpose of letting other people know what they're doing and looking for products or services that they can take advantage of. I like going when I'm looking for something in particular. I can always count on a networking event to be able to either A, find the particular service I'm looking for or find a person who knows the service I'm looking for. So it's a great place to go. If you've never been, you can look them up online. They're all over the place. I know in the US we have a website called meetup.com. That's meetup.com. There's also organizations like Business Networking International, BNI, as well as LaTip, as well as I'm sure if you are on Facebook of any kind, I'm sure you've been invited to many of these events before. So, in those events, one of the things is people like to ask you, so what do you do? And depending on how you answer that question, that can turn either people away or turn them toward what it is that you have to offer. So here's a simple sentence that you can use, or a simple, I guess I should say, template that you could use and modify as you see fit to be able to succinctly and effectively communicate. Because sometimes you may only have 15, 20, or 30 seconds to be able to communicate your idea. And you've got to be as effective as you possibly can in that short period of time. So here it is. If someone asks you, hey, what do you do? So you're in this business, you're trying to become a real estate investor, so keep that in mind. But here's the template. It is the word I, and then it's followed by an action verb, target market, how to, benefit, so they can benefit. So the words action verb, target market, benefit, and benefit are in parentheses. Those you're going to interchange and change around depending on the situation. And let me give you an example. So one of the ones that actually works for my business. So if someone asks me, even today, what it is that I do, I could say the following. It says, I show people with a traditional retirement plan how to build a steady, consistent stream of income so they can relax about if they will ever be able to retire and have enough money for a long retirement. Very simple. So you'll see that it follows the action verb being show. People with a traditional retirement plan becomes the target market. And the first benefit is to build a steady, consistent stream of income. Then you see the words so they can. And then the next benefits happens to be relax about if they will ever be able to retire and have enough money for a long retirement. So if I happen to be talking to someone who is concerned about can I retire or will I run out of money, they're going to hear those benefits and want to know more. Now, that's just to get the process started. And when you can begin to say these phrases quickly, simply, easily, all the time, you'll be able to be in a position to, no matter where you are, make them up on the fly and use them to help people, know about your product or service or business really, really quickly. And what's cool about this is when you start stating certain benefits, people can remember the benefit. And when they run into someone who says something like, oh, I'm concerned about having enough money for retirement, that key phrase will and does trigger in their head going, oh, I just met a guy who was talking about that. Or I just met a gal who was talking about, how she can make sure that, you never run out of money. And they're going to want to know who that person is. So it's a very simple script. So you can use it. Here's the fun part. Sometimes you get asked, what do you do? While you're standing in line at the groceries, while you're at the gas station, while you're at the movies, when you met someone new for the first time, it doesn't matter. You can always use that particular script specifically face to face or even over the phone if someone did ask you the question, hey, what do you do? Well, now you know. Now, here's your homework. I want you to take that formula, the I, action, verb, target, market, how to benefit so they can benefit. And I want you to come up with like 15 or 20 different variations of that very script for your real estate business. So if you're going to be a wholesaler, there you go. If you're going to do fixing and flipping, there you go. If you're going to be a landlord, there you go. And you're looking to buy more property, you really want to do this. If you're looking to fill your property, there you go. You have a networking script that can help you begin to generate the leads that you're looking for. All right, here's another one. Oftentimes when we're in a conversation, specifically when we're talking only about business. So this is usually when you've piqued someone's interest. Now, Understand this. I come from a place where I want to get business happening quickly. It's one thing to have a sales cycle. It's another to know to how to shorten your sales cycle. So here's the typical scenario. You're in a conversation, and at some point you say something like the previous script I gave you above, and someone says, "Hey, can I get a business card from you?" And what you, or the, "Hey, do you have a card?" And what you've done before now has been said, "Sure, here." And you ask them for their name, their number, etc. You take down their name or number, or they hand you their card, and then that card finds its way to your back pocket or purse. And then it, for whatever reason, when you get home, that same card finds its way to the special spot on your desk, which the other 2,000 cards that have found their way to that special spot on your desk sit. And 5 months goes by and you never called anybody and nothing ever happened. I speak from experience on this one. And I know some of you listening to my voice right now have done something very similar to that. So here's the point. When someone is asking you, or when you have done the work necessary to generate the interest to the point where they say, "Can I have a card?" or "Do you have a card?" What I like to do is, instead of giving them a card, I'd rather give them a quote unquote appointment reminder. Here's what I mean. Now, on that card, it's still going to have the same information that my business card would have. However, I would do the following, and this is what I would suggest for you. So if someone asks me, "Hey, do you have a card?" You know what? Yes. Now, I'm going to pause after the word yes. And then as I'm handing my card to them or getting it out of my wallet or whatever I have, I'm going to ask them the following question. Why do you ask? I know it seems silly, and I know you're thinking, well, they want my information. That's why they're asking. You don't know that. Don't assume anything. The more you assume, the less you really know. And you want to be in a position to know exactly why someone's asking for your card. And usually when you ask, or when I've asked that question, people respond with, "Yeah, I'd like to call you later so we could talk about some things that you said." And then my response is, "Really? About what?" Okay, now hear that again. It's just, "Really? About what?" And then they're going to tell you what it is that they want to talk about. They're going to tell you the subject of the appointment. Here's why this is important. It's because, first of all, by the time you take their card and number and go back home, and even if you do call them back, you have to chase them down to get them on the phone to try to set the appointment, and which means you have to remind them of whatever it is that they wanted to talk to you about, because they've forgotten in the time that they've taken your information and gone back home. So, after they answer the question about what, I'm going to say something to the following effect. I'm going to say, "You know what? I've got my I've got my iPhone right here," or whatever you use to keep your calendar. So I'm going to say, "I've got my iPhone right here," or "I got my calendar right here. Do you think it makes sense for us to go ahead and get something on the calendar now so we can talk about that sooner rather than later?" And usually the answer is yes. So now here's what happens. I've turned at what normally is just me handing them their card, and then 2 weeks of chasing them down, and then finally waiting another week for an appointment. I've collapsed the time frame, what normally took 3 weeks, down to a couple of minutes. I've got the appointment, and I'm in the game. And I have the added benefit of knowing why we're meeting and what problem or problems that they're experiencing that they heard me say I could solve. And then the appointment goes faster, smoother, and everybody's happier. It actually happens. When I started doing that, it became very, very magical. In fact, I got to the point to where I even stopped carrying business cards. And when people would ask me, "Do you have a card?" I was like, "No, but I'm curious. Why do you ask?" You could still say no and go, "Why do you ask?" And then they'll tell you. And then you can do, "Really? About what?" And then you go, "You know what? I've got my calendar right here. Do you think it makes any sense for us to get that on the calendar now? We can go ahead and get something scheduled sooner than later, you know? Because remember, it's their problem. And usually when you offer to help someone with their problem, they're ready and willing to solve it. Now, here's what's also cool about this. Occasionally they're asking for your card so that they can hand it to someone else. And now you know that, which is great. And then you can find out information about the referral that they're planning on giving to you. In fact, you could possibly find out enough information to be able to go ahead and set that appointment or get that name and phone number immediately and set that appointment while they're still there. So here's how that would look. It's like, yes, I do have a card. Why do you ask? And, oh, really? You want me to talk to your friend? Okay. That makes sense, but what specifically about? And then they're going to tell you. I gotcha. And then you're going to say, you know what? I've got my phone right here. Do you think it makes any sense if we gave your friend a call real fast to see what their availability is so that all three of us can sit down and we can talk about this? See, you're being proactive. You're showing that you have an intent to help. And most importantly, that you are confident that you can solve whatever problem there is. And when you do that, you tend to get the appointment. All I'm saying is that I think it will help you generate the leads. I'm teaching you what to say so that you can generate the leads and keep and have good quality leads, most importantly, and get the business done, whatever that looks like. Here's then the next little piece of a script that I would love for you to assimilate into your vocabulary that generates tons and tons of leads for you. And again, you can use this one with any particular situation and it works very, very well when someone or after someone has asked you, what do you do? But in case they haven't, it doesn't really matter. At some point, you're in a conversation with people. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be in the middle of the mall, shopping mall, store. It really, really doesn't matter. But so long as you've explained something about what you've done, here's kinda what you could say. I call this a referral script. It's, Bob, I'm wondering, I'm not 100% certain, but if you had a friend or maybe a family member or just someone that you knew that was looking to be able to buy or buy property at a discount or sell any of their property really quickly, do you know anyone that would be interested in anything like that? Now, here's the thing. You're going to use their name and you're going to ask them if they know anyone, any of their friends, any of their families, any of those random associates that would be interested in whatever you believe your biggest benefit is. So if your biggest benefit is that you can buy property quickly and close with cash, great. If your biggest benefit is that you've got a lot of seller finance property right now, and what you want to do is be able to sell property, or someone who was looking to buy property using none of their no credit check required, then that could be the biggest benefit. And then you're just going to ask them, do you know anyone who would be interested in anything like that? And what's interesting about that is that it gives you two positive possibilities and one negative possibility. So obviously the positive possibility is, yeah, they do know someone. Here's the second one. If they are that someone, they will tell you. So you've got two shots at something positive from that. And then obviously you still have the no, I don't know anyone like that. However, the no is still a yes, and this is why. Because then you're going to say, regardless of what they say, it's going to be something to the effect of, Bob, when you are in the process of referring a business, a product, or a service, what is typically the best route to help you feel comfortable in referring that service? Do you have to try it yourself? Do you need to find out more about it? Or what is your process? Now, typically in that case, they're going to say one of the two things. Yeah, I like to try it myself, or I need to find out more about it. Either one of those is positive, because if they got to try it yourself, that means you just made a sale of whatever it is that you're selling. If they say something like, I'd like to find out more about it, then it's going to become, well, Bob, do you think it makes any sense for us to sit down so I can invest some time with you and show you a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and how I might be able to benefit? Like how I can actually close properties really fast or how I can sell properties without credit being required. All of those things begin to help you generate those leads. And now, when they leave, because again, this is going to get at that point, you're probably going to get the, well, yeah, that makes sense. Do you have a card? And you already know what to do there. So, all of those are three. I've got four in this particular episode to share with you. The best one is coming up in a moment. What I want to do right now is go through our cash flow question. And here it is. If you remember last week's question, it was in residential real estate, what is the more formal name for the offer? What is the more formal name for the offer? That is called the residential purchase agreement or residential purchase contract, also known as the REPC. You'll probably hear it like that at some point, sometime, somewhere. Good. And then this week's question, remember, for those of you who are playing, feel free to send in your answers to the question to cashflowquestion@cashflowdiary.com. The first person to respond with the appropriate answer will get a signed and autographed copy of my upcoming book, The Cash Flow Creation System: How to Create Wealth in Any Economy. Inside the book, just as a quick tip, it'll go over my entire business model from beginning to end, including raising private capital, wholesaling, and multifamily buildings. And you could get an autographed copy. So if you send in your email with your answer, make sure you send in your address. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really difficult for us to mail you a copy. All right. So this week's question is, in your written contract, what is the more formal name for what we typically call escape clauses? There is a formal name for something called escape clauses, and I am looking for the answer. It is a 2-word phrase that I am looking for. So send that in to cashflowquestions@cashflowdiary.com with the correct answer, and your book will be on the way. Awesome. All right. So let's get back to what I think are some excellent ways to generate leads. And let me give you what I call my biggest and best. Here it is. There's a game out there that Robert Kiyosaki has created called Cashflow 101. At the end of the day, what you want to be is you want to be someone who teaches this game. So where it starts, it doesn't matter. The point is get started. Come play with me if you have to. Go play with someone else. Start teaching it, yes, even in your own house. It doesn't matter what your house looks like. Invite people over and learn how to teach and play the game. Okay, so don't just play the game. Eventually learn how to teach it. So you may have to play a good 10 or 15 times with someone else before you actually get how to teach the game. So now you don't want to just teach the game. You want to learn to become the best instructor of the game in your area, period. You want to be known as the person who plays and teaches the game to other people. And therefore, you're the one who's educating the market. And you may have heard me say this before, but I say it again here. He or she who educates the market dominates the market. And you'll be seen as a go-to person with expertise, because you will have expertise as it relates to investing, specifically in real estate and business. And now that will help you generate the leads, attract to you the people who are interested in real estate, be they interested in selling property, buying property, or even helping you by lending you cash. All of these things have come to me from playing the Cashflow 101 board game. Plus, it has the added benefit of being fun and developing deeper relationships with your clientele than you normally would in the first place. So you're saying, okay, cool. How do I generate leads with it though? Well, obviously, I said before, you can go to meetup.com, let people know that you are playing the game, post a link on Facebook. Hey, tell them that you're playing the game. So you want to, find a location, get the game together, and invite people to come play with you. You say, well, that's too much work. All right, cool. Here's what you do. I want you to still go get the game. So you're still going to need a board game. And get 1 or 2 of your friends, in on this. Okay, so maybe 2 or 3 of you can get together, split the cost of the game, and here's what you do. I want you to go find a coffee shop in your area. And most coffee shops are built around the business model of come, have a cup of coffee, and stay a while. That's kind of what they want you to do. They want you to stay a while. They've got indoor seating. They've got all of these refreshments. They have different cups, even if you dine in versus take the coffee to go. So they want you to stay. All right, cool. Then I'll stay, and I'll happen to bring a game and a few friends. Now, here's what happens. While you and your friends are in Starbucks, you're going to play the game right there. Other people who like coffee are going to come in, and they're going to see that you guys are playing the game. And what's interesting about that is that in that environment, you're a safe person to come up and talk to, and then they will. Some of those individuals will be interested in real estate for their own purposes. Obviously, some of them could be realtors, some of them could be lenders, some of them could be selling houses, buying houses, some of them could own the houses, they could be landlords. It's all kinds of resources come in the coffee shops because they like coffee too. They're people. And what's interesting is, more or less you can play the game and literally watch others come right up to you and jump in your quote unquote boat. It's a pretty fun way to generate lots and lots of leads. So that's all the time that we have today. But as a final comment, here's something I want you to think about. The person who you are at this moment will meet a new version of yourself on the journey towards obtaining your goals. Until next time.
Thank you for investing your time with Jay Massey and the Cash Flow Diary. When you have a moment, please visit iTunes and leave a positive comment about the show. And go now to our website, cashflowdiary.com, to take advantage of our free business building course, Cash Flow Foundation. Gain the knowledge, understanding, and skill that will teach you how to never need a job again. Until next time.